Welcome everyone to our masterclass, the metric that could have saved your last rollout. If you've been with us through the day from this morning, you've been on a journey from diagnosis and debate to field evidence and capability models. Underneath all of these sessions has been one question: how do we close the gap between AI that's implemented and AI that delivers value for the organization and its people? This masterclass and the one that's running in parallel together form the final stage, the culmination of today's journey. This one pulls on a thread that the stress test began to unravel this morning: the question of sequencing, people, process, and platform. What sequence should organizations follow before go live? This session takes that question a step further. We'll cover which metrics tell you that something's wrong early enough that you can course correct and bring things back on track so you can protect your AI investment. And there's no one better placed to walk us through this than today's facilitator, Dr. Vani Gopalan. As the founder and CEO of Zion Leadership Hub, she bridges human-centric leadership with strong business execution. Over the past 22 years, she's scaled global capability centers and led technology transformations across manufacturing, finance, investment banking, and life sciences for several global giants, including AstraZeneca, IBM, Invesco, and Flowserve. Her work has earned her recognition as one of India's top 10 tech leaders in 2022. She holds an MBA and management credentials from IIM Indore and ISB, a PhD in organizational leadership, and she's also a certified ProSci change management practitioner. Plus, she's the author of The Unlearned Leader, 44 Anti-Lessons to Shed the Mask and Lead with Magnetic Influence. We're so pleased to have her with us. Please welcome Dr. Vani Gopalan.
Check. It's better. Yeah. The technical glitches, right? Like it happens always. I know it's been a busy day for everyone. But I'm not here to bore you. How does that sound? Great. But I also have a request from all of you. Need some energy in the room. Need some energy in the room. Some smiles in the room. While the scorecards are getting distributed, do not worry about what the scorecards are all about. We are going to discuss our very own favorite topic today in this masterclass: digital transformation. I'm sure all of us were part of digital transformation in some role or the other. Some way or the other, some responsibility or the other, we were involved in digital transformation. And now is the time for AI transformation. We talk about AI transformation everywhere, and all of us want to be part of those programs or projects within the organization. Yes? All of us. We want to get our name engraved on those slides or on those project stakeholders' deck, to learn, to give, and also to take back. This morning, we had a panel discussion about the sequence, like Marian mentioned. People, process, technology. What is the right sequence? What are those matrices that get us business value? How do we measure the success of any program or digital transformation? What is go live? We are going to cover all of that. We are going to talk all of that backed by case studies. Go live is not the finish line. In general scenario, when we're measuring the success of a program, what do? Technology deployment. Deploying a solution becomes a success. If all the technology is deployed, the system is deployed, within the budget, within the time frame, we declare it as a success. How many of you agree with me? Timeline check mark, yes, green. All the functionalities we wanted to deliver, green. Cost, green. And we declare as a success and we celebrate our go live. But the question we have to ask ourselves is that what success is all about? Or there's something more? Research says that 70% of digital transformation fail. Do you believe this? Research says that 70% of digital transformation fail because of two reasons. One, because of employee resistance, and two, because of lack of management support. Let me allow that to sink in. But for our go live, for a successful go live, do we even measure this? Even if we measure this at a very later point in time in the terms of adoption rate. We roll out surveys in place. How many people are actually using the technology? How many people are actually using the system? But we do it after the fact. What is the narrative we have to take as an organization, as a technology organization, as a product organization, or an implementation organization? I'm sure all of you who are sitting here are from different avenues. Do we measure the go-live success on the day of deploying a solution? Because that is just the starting meter. That's when the meter starts running. 70% of digital transformation fail to hit the targeted business outcome, and we are unable to realize the business value. Now, I would like to engage the room a little bit. Think of your project in your day-to-day life. It could be an ERP implementation, it could be a CRM implementation, or another project as well. What was the sequence? What came first? Did you customize your platform with the legacy ways of working and made the technology or the platform as the first in the sequence? If you did, just say yes or show a raise of hand. I see only one hand going up. The question is, how many times did you customize the platform based on the legacy processes that's running in the organization? I think all of us, most of us, all of us. What we do is we invest in we invest so much of money and cost in acquiring or buying the solution, but what we do is we want the technology to be customized based on the legacy processes that we have, and the reason is we want to change the culture of the organization, but in turn we want to custom fit the new technology based on the legacy processes that we are having in the organization. And number two, people-centered. Are we really thinking about, are the people aware of why we are bringing this change in the organization? What is in it for them in this change? You must have seen people using their workarounds, like their own Excel sheets, like their own ways of working, like MS Access or something else. We deploy a new ERP solution and they're not very comfortable using it. When do we even assess that? not very early in the game. Because of that, what happens? When the sequence is not managed rightly, your technology, your technical debt increases. The investment that you make in the software, the investment that you make in the digital transformation is not an investment, it becomes a liability. But we realize all of this after the fact. As technology leaders in the room, we think that people process platform or technology, the sequencing is right, but then theoretically the sequence is right, but practically we want to give away to all those legacy processes because we do not want to take the risk of changing the mindsets of the business users who are not going to agree to all of that. How many of you were in deployments, ERP deployments and business transformation, where to even go ahead and explain the change that is happening in the business user's life is so difficult for us? It is considered as a technology initiative versus a business initiative, and nobody even cares about ROI, and you become the enemy of the whole organization. How many of times it happens, irrespective of the role that you play in the organization? Which is why we think the smarter way to deploy the solution is change the entire technology, custom code, custom fix everything, and you accommodate as the legacy process, by doing which we are not changing the culture of the organization. We are not doing any transformation. We are just doing a technology deployment. Rather, an upgrade, if you talk about a software solution upgrade, nothing happens. And if you go speak to the CFO, he or she doesn't even understand what value this project has given. I see a lot of smiles on the room, which means most of you are agreeing with me or you share the pain with me. I have done that. I've been there. I felt like running these programs were like my personal project sometimes. And sometimes even you pray at home and come like, oh my God, this business user should listen to whatever I say. How many times it happens? It happens to all of us because our stakes are they are stuck there. And then if you're not able to convince the business, your manager says that you don't know how to manage stakeholders. Go learn a stakeholder management session. But the problem is the legacy mindset, which the organization is not able to solve, the legacy mindset that the organization is not able to change, because of which it is not translating in the business value that the organization signed up for. Now, what do we do? We're going to look at the sequence, what the sequence should be. And that is backed by a case study. You look at the case study here, this is by Nike. Nike in 2000, they rolled out a supply chain rollout. This was for demand planning software, where they deployed without standardizing their processes. They deployed a solution because I think they feared the change. They wanted to deploy a solution and they went ahead. They failed miserably because they considered the customization first, people was last, the process was never even standardized. Because of which the biggest mistake that they made was 100 million revenue shortfall, and that brought their stock value down. The core lesson that we're picking from this is, if you're automating an unstandardized process, you're going to run into failure. It's going to become an expense. It is going to become a liability. That is what most of us are doing today in the world of AI. We are not making our data clean. We are not talking about how our data is, but we want to be in the race of AI, and which is why most of the organizations are failing to understand what the ROI is, and they're miserably failing. Now, the second question I would like to ask all of you is, why do you think the employees choose to work around? Or how many of you or your employees always chose to stick on to those old Excel sheets or old ways of working and they wanted to do it in their own cozy way? Sorry, comfort? Comfort level? Yes? What else? Confidence of getting it right? Absolutely. What else? Absolutely inadequate training in the new tool. What else? Boss wants it that way. Oh, perfect. Yes. Because boss is always right. We have to, listen to the boss.
I have a curious case of where, all of the things you're saying is right, but the software that was chosen itself was not really, so it was a case where they chose the wrong tool, and that tool was, and I knew I was right because a year later, two organizations I joined, so two organizations I two organizations I joined, they actually started rolling out they removed that tool and replaced with the new one. So I know it's not the typical case, but just wanted to bring it out.
No, no, thank you for sharing, and that happens as well. But then, there are very, very limited cases where we don't choose the right software, and they don't do the research and why the need of that software, right? I think that's also the valid case. But today we're talking about you decided, you chose, you had the right people in the room who decided the software solution, but still people choose going with workarounds. And that's easy, like all of you said, and they want to be right, like all of you said, and they also want to reduce those steps in the process. Instead of having so many approval system for a purchase order in SAP, I can just do it, I can just send a mail and get the approval and attach an email and do it, the old legacy way, and it works fine for them. What else? What are the other reasons we think people go for the workarounds? If you can pass on the mic.
One is for sure, it doesn't address my need. Okay, though I would have been in that particular room giving my requirements, it's not been captured, it's not been built the way it would address my need. Second, the process which would take 2 days, now it's like 14 steps, 15 steps for me to go around, keep pleading for people like approve so that it moves to the next level part of it. Third thing could also be in a lot of organizations, things move because of your connections. It's not the system. Okay, so you are cutting my people connections, which I'm not liking it. Right? So that's another reason why I would still go back to my old. I would still like to go stand next to the coffee, table and speak about the issue, get the approval done, and get things moving. So.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you. Thank you. We'll take another share and then okay, two others and then we can move on.
Just not knowing the value of one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then the rest is incidental.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Yes.
People are more confident in the old system because they know in and out. They don't want to adopt the new system because they're not confident.
Lovely, lovely, amazing. Yes.
The main thing I think we miss is, especially the ERP Connect, what you're saying, is when what they do daily in their life, it is so easy for them to get those informations quickly rather than the new system which we are providing, which takes days or time more on getting the same information. So they have these Excel sheets. I've seen in SAP ERP migrations.
Yes.
They used to keep all that because it's easy to get those information rather than the site.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful share. Just one last and then we'll move on.
Because it's a legal requirement. I'm doing an implementation where I'll have to include a lot of manual steps because legal team is telling me I need this data proof in case of litigation.
Okay, great. That's a real-time exception why people have to go with customizations. I think there's one share at the end and then we'll move on. Yes.
I would say there can be so many reasons talked about that, but biggest reason is that the new system is, they are not given training, they don't understand, they don't have a confidence, so they keep doing the previous work. Any change is human nature is to resist. But when they understand the ease of working or the comfort level, then they will run on it. I mean, it's like if some mobile app is there for banking, if we understand, we'll do it very fast. If we don't know, like senior citizen, retired people, they will never use it.
True. True. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I think in the interest of time, we'll just take one share and move on.
Somewhere I think it leads to the fear, inbuilt fear that you have, that sharing more knowledge, right, mostly with the inefficiency that's already there in the system, you don't want to share metrics, something like someone who's paying taxes, right? You have information to extract more taxes, for example. But someone who was not in the tax bracket itself, you don't have even data to reach out to them. So something similar in organization as well. Someone who does at a senior level, you don't have metrics. But once you follow a system, then probably those metrics are available to senior management, and people down the line does not accept change or implementation of new systems.
Very true, very true. Very true, wonderful.
Just one last thing. I really feel that employees do not read emails. They are not aware of the changes that are happening, what is the process. And because of that, when they are actually asked to do it, they're confused.
Wonderful. Wonderful. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll come back to you. Thank you so much. I really feel like, getting engrossed in this thing that shows the pain all of us are sharing together.
Just
so
want to add the last point.
Absolutely, yes.
Here.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah. Where's it coming from?
Excuse me.
Okay, here. There's so much of light, yes.
To be very simple, I feel that employees are very lazy to learn new systems because they are very comfortable with old ones, and they do not want separate systems because they have handled one single system and they don't want to have a separate one.
Yeah, thank you for the share, but I sincerely don't want to go into the debate now. I think we're going to just divide this room into two and start getting into debate, this lovely, wonderful conversation. First, I'd like all of us to give a big round of applause for all of us, right? For sharing the pain. This is a pain story of any transformation and why the transformation do not succeed. I'm sure most of us, including myself, were part of those small projects or big projects or larger transformations that was not very successful because of these two reasons. And like you rightly said, most of the organization choose to communicate these changes and they avoid these, they want to try to avoid these friction by an email. See, when the employee is showing friction, doesn't mean that they do not have best interest for the company. Doesn't mean that they are not interested in the ROI for the company. Doesn't mean that they don't want to work. But all it means is they don't want to follow this lengthy 14-step process for something very easy. And also, they don't want to wait on this UI, which is very slow. To get to 4 screens, they have to tap like 5 times, 10 times, and they used to wait. I remember this back in my early days when I was learning SAP. I felt like, why are we doing this? We could do this in Excel. Excel is so easy, like all the VLOOKUP and everything was like, wow. But today you see those AI ads, right? They say this person has joined the team and you know what, he's still using Excel. Excel has become like a taboo now. Exactly, and it also says that you're growing older, which is against all of our policy, right? So that is what we're talking about. We covered the people friction, we covered the process friction, we covered the platform friction. This is based on the friction point of one company which I've taken. Yeah, of the Gartner, yeah. So let's move on. This is a very interesting discussion. Yes. Now, I'm going to take all of you to rethinking the metrics. Rethinking the metrics in terms of lagging metrics versus lagging indicators, leading and lagging indicators. All the matrices that we talk about, like the satisfaction survey, which we do after the fact, satisfaction survey, I can anyways go ahead and say that I'm very happy, like tick in the box, just to satisfy the manager, because manager is going to call me and ask questions, why did you score the program down? Or we also assess the ticket volumes after go live. You see hypercare tickets, and does even anybody look at the hypercare tickets and kind of bifurcate? What are we focus on the P1, P2 tickets, priority 1, priority 2 tickets, which is really, really important. But all other tickets like knowledge base and all of that, we just say, okay, these are knowledge issues, put them in training and that's it. We don't even classify or consider those as anything. Right? You look at the other metrics. And this is where you see the ROI is lost. When you want to go back to the CFOs and talk about what is the operational value of deploying the solution, you really don't have anything to even show it to them. We run after meeting after meeting, and we do not have any value, and we kind of cook up stories as leaders sometimes. I have to admit this because I was a technology leader once. And every time you don't want to go with the same metrics to the leadership team, and you say various reasons for why people are not adopting to the solution. But the leading solutions, this is something which is very interesting I have for you this evening, that is measuring these 4 early operational signals during the pilot or the soft launch. And what are these 4 measures? These are nothing but, number 1, proficiency. Proficiency is not about how many people are attending the training and giving you a check mark as I complete the training, but measuring the real proficiency. Are they learning? Like somebody said, people don't know, they're not willing to learn. If they're not willing to learn, have you told them why should they learn? Have you told them why this change is happening in their life? Have you told them what is it in it for them? You see, when any change happens in any organization, the most important thing that we fail as leader in organizations are, we don't tell them why should they come along in this change. We just tell them change is happening. We talk about the monetary value attached with the change. We talk about the investments. We talk about where the company is going. But we never tell them why are we taking them along, which is why people resist. Like somebody said, they're happy in their comfort, cozy zone, and they don't want to move on. And that's why this whole AI debate is coming up now, like whether I lose my job or what is going to happen. That is because of that. We are not very open enough in telling people that this change is for you. This change is for your growth. Yes, so that is the proficiency we're talking about. Second is the utilization. Organically, how many people are using the system? This metrics actually blew my mind because honestly, as a technology leader, I was not behind this at all. And all of us have to admit this in case if we are there, and today we all are here for learning, right? So I was not thinking about this utilization. I was thinking about my go live, I'm done, I'm happy, celebrating, jolly, success, that's it. And we worked on the hypercare ticket. If we had a vendor partner, we handed over everything to them and we went back deploying another solution. In the product organization I'm talking about. But it doesn't matter whether you're a technology solution partner or you're a product owner, doesn't matter. Metrics are the same. Your proficiency, utilization, you look at how many times people are using those workarounds, offline workarounds, and why are they using it? And third is the speed of adoption. Are people lagging? Why are they lagging? Like somebody said, no, they don't want to learn, they're lagging behind. Is it a will issue or a skill issue? Are they not willing to learn or they don't know how to do it? It's something we have to assess. When you do these 3 things, you are able to tie it back to your ROI with your operational metrics. This becomes a very good indicator. After I learned this became a success mantra for me for any kind of, even a smaller change that I'm doing. And to quote some examples, this also helps in your personal life as well. I have used this in my personal life. ADKAR I've used time and again in my personal life. Because you get those early indicators whether this is going to work out or it's not going to work out. I've started my business very recently, like the leadership coaching business. And that's where I'm using this as well, based on the response I'm getting from people. And how am I growing my coaching company? So this can be used anywhere and it can work beautifully, especially in the digital transformation space, irrespective of what role we are playing. Or we are sponsors, we are technology leaders or product owners or somebody who's a CFO. This can really help us to tell volumes about where we are and where we are lagging. And this is that proactive measure. Yes. Sure.
So on point 2, right? There's a little bit of nuance, actually a lot of nuance. So I've been part of a product organization. So this is actually table stakes. Utilization should be a built-in feature of the product. If utilization is not allowed to, of course, it's a different thing if the management doesn't know, or the users of the product don't pick it up. But utilization it's become, and you're right, it's become table stakes only recently.
Yes.
But yeah, for the larger population, I would think the point definitely still holds. But this is something that should be, before the tool is adopted, a conversation that says, have you built in utilization into the product? If you're not, I'm not going to adopt you.
Yes.
So that's just but like now SaaS, in SaaS, it was the best products have it. And SaaS is also going away now because of AI. But it's also a realization for me that, how much of work is left to actually bring a lot of enterprise software forward. But thank you.
That's a brilliant point. That's a brilliant point, and it is proactive.
Just to add the other angle to it, but that whatever the SaaS product gives utilization metric will not capture offline Excel workaround that is by definition is outside.
It is outside.
So you can only see one side. You don't have the other side to compare.
Yes, we don't have the other side to compare. That's a good point. But what we are saying here is, at least you will not have a lot of surprises on the go live date or after go live. After go live, when you look at your ticket volumes, you're not sitting here and solving the training issues. That's what we are saying.
Just to add one observation over here. Many times the programs that I have worked on, we are nearing go live, UAT is done, and then we talk about, okay, for hypercare, what are the metrics we're going to show? And my point has always been like, why are we discussing this now? When we created the business case, and we said, okay, we'll use this tool, and what is it that going to give us? Like, for example, speed of adoption. What is it you want to keep, like adoption within how many weeks? What percentage of it? And as he said, utilization, in many of the tools, number of logins equals utilization. That's how they calculate it. It's not about how many times they have completed the process and even measuring it. So for organization to even come to this level, I think that the thought process of you understanding how long did it take you to complete an approval process, or kind of applying for a bill or anything, how long does it take versus now how much would it take? The thought process doesn't start over. Then what do we do for that? I guess that's one question probably if you could help us answer. How do you make organization think from that point, like do not talk about indicators when we are going live, but at what point of the program do we bring that in?
Absolutely, that's a great point. In my experience, what we have done after adopting change or after adapting change into the digital transformation program, number one thing is we emphasize bringing the change management process into the technology program adoption whenever we're doing the technology program. That is number one. Number two is every program or every digital transformation program writes a deployment playbook. Everyone has a deployment playbook, like how the program should run from start to end. When you build the charter, you develop metrics as well. And when you are developing those metrics, these are the core things that should be documented, where we talk about what are my metrics before go live, what are my leading metrics. I think there should be a placeholder for that, and then talk about these. The discussions are not happening, it should be the starting point as well. I think that is how we take it. Yeah. So I think in the interest of time, we'll just move on. So I'm going to present a case study to all of us, and this will help us to understand these metrics a little bit, right? And while we are going through the case study, also look at the scorecard that is given to you, and this will help us to mark your observations in that. This case study, this is a project for Apex Global, and this is a hypothetical case study. This is a $1 billion international logistics enterprise which has decided to invest $45 million into AI cloud ERP investment, right? So we're going to look at what the IT perspective is. The IT perspective is they are on a high on energy to celebrate the success for the on-time, on-budget deployment. All technical milestones are met and they have signed off. So they think this project is a 100% success as per the technology team. But from the CFO's perspective, CFO thinks that there is zero earning or zero margin movement, and they also see there is a mounting operational lag. The 6-month post go live, nothing has happened. They don't really see a great story in terms of business value. But the reality that I want to present to all of you is early usage friction is one of the things because of skill gaps, and that got ignored by the project teams because those metrics was not kept into consideration. And on time and budget really doesn't, and being on budget doesn't really guarantee the P&L return. So what I want all of us to see is, if you look at the next slide here, what I want to present on these 4 metrics, these are observations, which I'm going to leave you with so that you can mark your scores. So the value leak breakdown, where did that happen? If you look at the proficiency leak, there were 95% of attendance in the room for the trainings, but 0 practical scenario tests were happening. So as a result of which, what happened was the frontline tasks took 6x longer time to log in shipments, and and the supervisors would spend 30% of their day remediating these data entry errors. Basically, people were present in the training, but they were not really having any kind of ability to do the work. And if you look at the utilization leak, they were doing these, this complex 12-step validation process were bypassed, and people were just doing something on their own on their offline spreadsheets, which means the system is technically used, but operationally it was not used at all. So utilization basically was not happening. They were still going ahead with their workarounds. Third one, if you look at the speed leak, the target 4-week, onboarding pace was completely stalled, and then, the 24 weeks post, launch, and the regional branch lag and all was less than 50% adoption. If you look at the velocity of adoption was nearly half. And the outcome, if you look at the promised 40% cycle time reduction, got them only 8%. So this is what we're talking about from a metric standpoint. Again, this is hypothetical, what I'm giving it to you. So the ask I have of all of you is, when you look at the scorecard, this is the value realization scorecard. This talks about the health of this, the metrics of this, where high performance, if you look at the metrics here, it is scored against these 4 leading metrics, which is proficiency, utilization, speed of adoption, and outcome alignment. So based on what you've seen for Apex Global, I would request you to take a look and rank this. If you see at the proficiency level, they've scored below 60%, like critical score as 1 to 4. You can write it there, you can mark that. And if they've scored below, they've scored above 9 and 10, you can mark it there as well. And this really talks about what it is. So we'll take quick 3 minutes to mark those. If there are any questions, I'll come down to your desks, to your space, and kind of clarify it. Yeah, so let me take a scorecard and walk you through as well. You have the scorecard with you? Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so based on what we saw in the previous slide, right? Yeah, based on what we saw. Yes. So you see the proficiency leak over here, 95% of training attendance was there, but practically they were not doing testing any scenarios, as a result of which it took 6x time longer to log shipments, where supervisors had to spend 30% of their time doing the data correction. What do you think? This is a good proficiency level or not so good? How would you rate it? Like 10 on 10 or 4 or 5 or 3 or 0? 4, yeah, moderate. So rank it that way. And similarly, even for the utilization, they kind of bypassed the whole process and they went with their own Excel sheet. So how would you rate them? Yeah, 1 or half or whatever you want to rank it. And it goes the same with the speed as well. You see the onboarding pace was completely stalled. After 24 weeks of post-go live, they was just hitting not even 50%, which means, yeah. See, now you're really understanding the metrics, and if we were in this project, it looks like all the metrics were red, would have been red. Mm-hmm.
So in the previous slide, the 4th point was business outcomes. early operational shifts aligned with P&L drivers. Measured during the pilot, not 6 months post go live.
Yes.
Could you please explain that, and also in relation to this one out maybe?
Okay. So what I was trying to say is you measure it as a leading metric. So when I say as a leading metric, if your proficiency rate is hitting at a 80% and your utilization rate has gone up to 70%, and speed of adoption is also gone up, which has a direct proportion to your business outcome as well, which means you don't have to redo. The more redo you do, it is going to impact your value, right? It's going to impact your outcome. So that is how you're going to tie back it to the outcome of the business. If that clarifies.
That brings me on to another question in that case. The other question, sorry, is that, I'll just finish with the follow-up.
Yeah.
So change is continuous, right?
Yes.
Why do we only observe change during peak hours, during go lives, during when something is happening in transition or in a transformation? Just like forward deployed engineers at this moment for an AI adoption, why do we not have something like a forward deployed continuous change expert in the organization? Because as you said, once the transformation happens, humans don't adopt that easily. It's not a 1-year project, or it's not a 6 months. It would take probably a year, 2 years, and it's a continuous change.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I'm asking this question is because in a lot of our organizations, including some of the peers that I spoke to here, we do not sell change as a standalone program. It is always a supportive program to a large transformation.
Absolutely.
Like a SAP transformation in itself can be sold. Commercially, OCM cannot be sold as a standalone item. While it is a very crucial, and most of the organization will say, oh, our HR does it, our L&D does it, but they don't do it, right? It is only an OCM does it. So how do we bring about that change?
Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule that you measure change only once. You can measure it any number of times through the course of the program, right? You measure success of the program. So the example that we are talking about is a deployment. A project has this timeline. A project has to complete, there's a timeline. We are going by that timeline. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is, don't measure that on the go live date, like during the go live, because when you measure it, it becomes very reactive. And see, the same thing happened with Apex. They are measuring this, in the hypothetical example, after go live, which means it's like looking at, you're looking at yourself in the rear view, like the rear view mirror when you're driving, right? You cannot, you only know where how the crash has happened, but you really can't go back and correct what has happened.
Who's measuring it? Usually it is a vendor that comes in and does the change and the transformation together. The problem is that after a years of SAP transformation, for example, along with that, the OCM person will go off as well. The company will continue to face the adoption and resistance and changes.
Yes. See, correct. So it depends if the company wants to say that's a different question altogether. If the company wants to have a change body which is outside the organization, they can have it on a, like how you have a partnership, they can have, or they can have their own change ambassadors within the organization who also measures the change. But there should be someone existing. Like this is same like your AMS, right? You deploy the solution and you have your AMS for SAP Oracle managed by somebody. Exactly the same way, but it has to be measured.
Can I come in? Yeah,
Yes.
it's me here.
Yes.
I think she's raised a very pertinent point, and as a change practitioner, I fully, see where she's coming from. And unfortunately, in Indian IT landscape, the service providers, which is the pure play Indian service providers, we still don't have the mentality to consult a client. We still are quote unquote order takers. So unless and until the client doesn't mandate change, the typical Indian IT service provider thinks this as a cost.
Absolutely.
And to be competitive in an RFP scenario and to ensure that you are qualifying as an L1, the typical mentality of an Indian service provider is, where can I cut cost, where can I optimize? And unfortunately, change is something that is seen as nice to have. If change is embedded in the program right from day one, you would not see any of these anomalies that you are projecting on the screen But unfortunately, we do not learn from our past mistake, and we are forever looking at margins and forever looking at, how can I cut cost? And that's what separates a typical Indian IT services provider from an Accenture and Capgemini of the world. And that's where we typically lag. So I fully support you.
OCM or change, organizational or operational change management is a strategic temperament within the company or the vendor itself. It's a very tactical and a transactional piece. So if your own company will treat you as a line item, which is the first one to go off in a large RFP or a proactive proposal, how do you think that you will influence the customer to think that you're a strategic?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is a good point. I would love to come back to you later. I'm just conscious of the time right now. But like you said, to close this, the topic, you both are spot on. And most of the global, IT service providers are bringing this part of their RFPs. In my recent, digital transformation programs, they are embedding change. They are embedding these metrics, and that is how they are, standing out from other vendors, in this RFP journey as well. But like you said, Indian, IT service providers, I think that maturity has to be brought in, where they're not thinking only about cost, but they're thinking about asset as their service, not only cost and how can they reduce cost. Because anyways, like after go live in your hypercare, when you're seeing the tickets volume that's coming up, you will see like 30 to 40% of tickets on training issues where, user utilization and all of that. Anyways, that's going to come, but it is all reactive.
And worse still, change means only communication and learning, training.
Correct. Yes.
And it's percolating from the top.
True.
Send one broadcast email, do a town hall. That's what change means to our leaders.
True. See, I think there's a lot of awareness has to be built, but I'm very glad in saying that a lot of people, a lot of technology leaders and business leaders and, senior leaders in the organization, like steering committees and sponsors, are getting to understand the importance of change in the programs like the digital transformation programs, AI programs, and they're seeing a lot of value coming in, but there's a long way to go. So with that, if you all are done with this course, I have another 5 minutes. Yeah, okay.
Can I ask one thing from the discussion that we had?
Yes.
Some of these problems happens at what level of your stakeholder you are engaged with. We had similar problem earlier, but with one of the digital transformation that we did with one of the private sector bank, the change management or the sponsor was the CEO of the bank itself. Now that solves a lot of the problem because internally in a bank you have a tech head, you have an operation head, you have a business head. Each has their own priorities, but if the mandate is from the CEO, that I need this change and within this period of time, I think most of the things fall in line.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And most of the Indian IT companies face this challenge because most of the time the sponsor is the tech head or the CTO. His metrics are totally different from the business metrics. And once it comes on the top, I think all the metrics are aligned and finally it ends up into getting the ROI for the organization as such.
Totally agree with you, but only thing I would like to leave there, a point I would like to leave there is that person, since he's at the very higher level, it is very difficult for him or her to come and look at the operational metrics. So he needs to have someone who is on the ground, who's measuring these metrics. Otherwise, people will be hiding behind the workarounds. I think that even for the Indian setup that we're talking about. You want to pass on the mic? Yeah.
Just to solve this problem, you're right, because I think it is the least priority for him when he's running an institution. We had created for the first time a separate organization as a chief digital officer. So probably his only KPI is to make this transformation or change successful. And every department aligns to him and he drives the entire transformation process.
Great. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. But after the session, we'll also we'll have another few minutes during the breakout to catch up if there are any points coming up. But I see the enthusiasm in the room, the questions, and the great points everyone is bringing in. I'm very thrilled to be hosting this session this evening with all of you. So that brings us to the scorecard. If you look at the scorecard, if you've marked it, the scores for Apex Global. I would imagine that the scores would definitely not be great. They would not be sitting on 34 to 40 for sure. And I'm assuming that they are below, they're below 23. Which means all the 4 leading indicators have simultaneously collapsed. And this is a hypothetical example that I brought in, but it could also be true for some companies who do not choose the direction wisely and who do not choose the leading metrics and they prioritize lagging metrics. This could be a scenario too. So what do we say? The recommended action for them is pause and resequence, which means stop the customization completely and redesign the core workflows that aligns with the steering committee, with the people, and they take it forward so that they attain the expected result, and they recover out of those recover and come from the losses that they've incurred. That is what we are saying out of this metrics, and the reason why we put this case study in front of you is to understand and also give you some thought process on what projects you are working in your current organization. It could be a very small project, it could be a larger deployment program, it could be a larger AI program, larger cloud migration, CRM, whatever it is. But the fundamentals are simple and the same. Like, what kind of metrics are you measuring? And like what I'm hearing from all of you is, it depends on the organization. It depends on the leadership and sponsorship. It depends on whether the senior leaders listen to us or not. Like, we are here to tell, boss, take this, consider this metrics, but it depends on the consulting partner as well, whether they have the appetite to include these into the system or they want to move ahead and kind of assess and evaluate the success of the program just by go live being successful, which means technology is done right, tick mark, cost is done fine and scope is within the desired one, and it is as per the timeline as well. And do we want to shy away from other metrics especially, which is very important for us to take it forward, and are we following the sequence, or we are still in the gap of following the wrong sequence where we believe that legacy mindset should continue, legacy processes should be the reason for us to customize the platform or customize the technology. That is something which I would really want you to take back. And we are anyways almost moved to the call to action. So how do you turn your software into true value? When you go back, reflect very ruthlessly, like on the project that you are working on, and audit your portfolio. You may be running a major technology deployment, major implementation, or you may be doing another small project, but look at these 4 leading matrices and look at proficiency, utilization, speed, and business outcome. How do they score? Where are they? Are they going below the 23 score that we spoke about? Are they above that? Isolate the lowest scores and look at the recommendation. What do you need to do? Where do you need to intervene? Where do you need to get your sponsor? Where do you need to get your executive team to help support? And resequence and execute because it is not too late in the game. And managing or measuring these metrics, when we say leading is all about being proactive and not reactive. And you apply the process first, people-centered, and platform-enabled framework so that customization becomes minimal and you're able to get maximum ROI, and your technology deployment will never be a liability on your organization. And you will be enjoying all the benefits of it, and you will also be able to take your people along. So with that, I think we come to the end of the masterclass. If there are any follow-up questions coming up, I'll be happy to take it up during the coffee session, but thank you so much. You've been a lovely audience. Wonderful questions and a lot of learning I had today by interacting with all of you. Wonderful. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Dr. Vani. I think this masterclass is exactly what our delegates needed. They came here expecting a framework. They came here for the framework, but I think looking around the room, it's been the conversations as well that they've valued. And I think this made for a perfect end to Synapse 2026. So thank you for hosting this for us. And with that, we come to the end of today's journey. We started out with diagnosing where transformations go wrong, and you are leaving with a playbook that you can take back and use in your own transformations. As a small token of our appreciation, we'd like to present Dr. Vani with a gift. And I'd like to invite Ranan to come up here and felicitate Dr. Vani.